Oh boy, Precious MotherLove here with you. We're about to hit the highway. That's what all of this Heart Happy Hour last couple of seasons, at least the first couple of seasons, it was more stable. The last 4 seasons before this, which is the ninth, let me turn it down. So, so I started off going to all these beautiful places and by the waterside. And then I started being on the road. And now I'm doing a mix. So Love+Art equals wellness. That's the name of my business that was born on the beach at Virginia Beach. Um, I guess it was around a time I had come into some let's say the business itself was born around the same time Heart Happy Hour was born, because it was to help me get, everybody feels like, I never have enough money, I never have enough time. Well, all of a sudden I had enough money and I had enough time, and I needed to seek my happiness because I had taken great loss with various important figures in my life, leaving this plane, transitioning to the next level, the next leg of the race, the next place that they're going. And so Heart Happy Hour season 9, the what I'm into these days, what makes me happy, what makes my heart happy, just when you die. Happy. This is the music for my song Earth. It's So I thought I knew all the words and I was about to recite them because I can hear them in my head. But I have a conflict of interest right now. I'm thinking about all the things I want to talk to you about. I'm about to hit the Beltway 95 South. Anyway, this was a way for me to heal myself and share my healing. So what I have been doing is sharing my healing, hints of healing, things that have helped raise my spirits, elevate me to new heights. I mean, I've always been on the quest for sovereignty, for self-alignment, self-enlightenment. Science of self is what I call it. And so in my science of self, my discoveries, I've just been sharing them all along the way. I hope you guys find, some value in some of the things that I share. So today I'm going to talk about Mercury Retrograde, a pause for the cause. I'm going to talk about the dog days, which are also like 57 countries during the dog days have their Independence Day. I'm going to talk about that. And then the last thing is my 5 words for supernatural wellness, because that's an ecosystem. That's the harmony of synchronizing energies, both physical, spiritual. I said both, but physical, spiritual, and energetic, harmonious synchronicity or synchronization. So, okay, Mercury retrograde, a pause for the cause. So Mercury goes into retrograde. See, there's a speed difference. Let me just go ahead and turn the music off. There's a speed difference between how fast Mercury laps the Earth, because it is actually is it lapping the Earth or lapping the Sun? Ooh, I confused myself. Go ahead, you guys, because I'm doing 65 and they say that's what the limit is. I'm not gonna get me a ticket. I don't do all of that. Y'all hurry if you want to. Going around me. Okay, so Mercury does just like that. Speeds on by. And it goes, I want to say twice. No, if we're moving 66,600 miles per hour, 666, yeah, the Earth is moving at that pace. And so Mercury is moving at like something like 169 or 170 or something. So it's like 30 kilometers per second. That's the Earth, and then there at Mercury is moving at 50 kilometers per second. So it races on, and then it'll take a pause for the cause and let us catch up and let us move on and let us, get a head start and then move on again. And that Mercury taking a pause is the lies, a time for reclarification, recommitment. Eyes crossing your T's, and like right now, Mercury is Cancer. At some point, it goes back to Gemini, and then it moves forward again. But when it's in Cancer, it's about looking at what's going on at home, your home life, your base, your foundation. It's also a time to reflect. When you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing the reflection, are you actually pausing and making the potential revise, touching up your makeup or whatever, touching your face up, touching your hair up. And that's what Mercury retrograde is about. Look at the big picture and focus on the little things, making sure that the I's and the T's, and the dots and the periods and cross and all that good stuff. So that's what for me, Mercury is my planet. Virgo. I'm a Virgo, so Mercury is my home planet per se. Communications, your stomach, even. I feel the changes in Mercury very prominently, or more prominently than most people whose home planet it is not, or who may have those who have a lot of Virgo influence in their chart may have another level of sensitivity as well. But for the most part, Mercury's pause for the cause. Mercury's retrograde. It's not moving backwards. It looks like it's moving backwards. Our perspective will change. It is usually ahead of us. It goes around the Earth, I think 88. It takes 88 days. So divide 365 into 88. Is that 5? Well, whatever the case is, 4 plus times per annum, per our annual year, Mercury laps us that many times. So it's ahead of us. It's moving faster. It's the closest to the sun. It's in its orbit. It definitely, gets ahead of us. Sometimes it'll take a pause for the cause, allow us to move on, and we'll never catch up. Our speed is never equal, but there are it has time to stop off and get a soda pop. It has time to, it's like the snail. Not the snail. The hare and the tortoise. It's as though, we actually can, do some other things. Mercury, my planet, Mercury can stop off and take a pause. Let me catch my breath. That kind of thing. It can do that. So we then take that initiate to take that time to, if we synchronize properly. Again, it's always going to be moving faster than us. It's quick on its feet. Mercury, it self-contains itself. It's very sovereign, and that's what these dog days afternoons are about. To me, these dog days of summer, this 40-day period this year. Now, I saw 2 conflicting reports during my research. One said that June 29th was the beginning, or the Mercury retrograde date. But other information that I researched, came up with, and said it wasn't until July 3rd. No, I take that back. July 3rd is the beginning of the dog. No, I just said it. Dog day. There was there was discrepant days. Now, we know before Mercury goes retrograde, there is a feeling of it on its onset of it taking a pause. So because it is my ruling planet, I will feel the reduced speed. I will get a sense of it's now time to die. And I did not, but thanks for hanging in there with me. One love and wellness. Love plus art equals wellness. That's a lifestyle. That's the way I live, and it works well. So, additionally, as I got into the dog days afternoon, there's some discrepancy, June 29th and or July 3rd. Whatever the case is, the reason why I say the 29th might be applicable, it might include the dog days that are happening in Europe. And I think Europe is like 35 different countries. And, all these countries that do report their dog day deaths, heat related deaths, that's like the CDC has a way of reporting things, and then around the world has a way of reporting things, and not everybody has the technical connection for things to be able to be reported in such a way to say, oh, this person expired because of the heat now, or heat exhaustion, but heat can bring on and exasperate other pre-lining factors. So, and then, one of the things I want to take notice of is how, they say, a dog fight, the dog fight is, a dog, if you have a dog in the fight, that kind of thing. So, it seems to me as though these dog days are a test, a litmus test for the survival of the fittest, those who can take the heat. One of the things that in our wellness world that we do are, what are those huts that they have the heat right there from, and they suck the heat into there. It's not a sauna, it's, father this and mother that, and oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. Those huts where you go into and you got all that heat in there, and you're going in there to be proven, and it's almost like ceramics. If we're on the potter's wheel, when you put the pottery into the fire, you're firing that pottery, you're proving it, you're curing it, you are putting it through the litmus tests. A lot of times, when they talk about diamonds, they say, diamonds stand the pressure, so the heat, you turn up the heat in these grandma and grandpa ceremonies. I forget what they're called again, and I apologize, I'm a health worker and I should know that. But what I'm saying is that these are ways for us to purify ourselves, to get to the place of burning off all the excess. Like anything that you do during the dog days, you're going to be real emphatic about it if you're in your right mind, because it will sometimes twist the perspective so much that, you've seen it, what do you call those mirages? The heat is mirroring off of the sand, and in such a way emulating, some visuals that are, it's not an actual, it's a reflection, but it's a mirage. It's not the true image. It's a change, and possibly, in the Bugs Bunny cartoon, the mirages would be tropical islands in the desert. He'd be swimming through the sand like it was water. Because in his mind, the heat overtook his mind, and the heat overtook his mind to the point where he started seeing some images that were inaccurate, that were not actual, and they were visually generated by faulty, whatever visual impact the heat takes on your vision, or the heat takes on your brain's actions, your brain's accuracy. Is when you turn up the heat, and we're 70% water, and as that 70 to 80 amount percent water, we're walking fish tanks, we're walking puddles of water, self-contained like Mercury. But by the same token, that there is a synergy of our water. So if we are dehydrated and we are overheating, it could impact all of our faculties. It'll impact our breathing. It'll impact, our cooling off system. It'll initiate us to begin to sweat. And if you're dehydrating, that sweat will take from areas that might be vital and you might not sweat. And if you don't sweat, that's an error, a malfunction of our normal cooling process. If you don't sweat, it is going to cause additional concerns in your physical operation, in your brain functions, in the body's capabilities of conducting itself. Like I said, it's the survival of the fittest. We are being fired. We are under fire. There are all of these offshoots, all these data downloads, all of these solar flares and solar spikes that are coming. So not only are we quickening ourselves, we're being more active in the summer, we're outside more, we're more involved in physical activity. Most people, when you get elder, when you get to my age, you may slow down a little more, you may stay in the AC a little more, it may allow you to breathe a little better. And I want to reflect on something. I learned something recently about the breathing, the breath. So the breath, breathing exercises, breathing techniques, breathing ways of different manners of breathing initiate various things to happen in the body. We can hyperventilate, we can be over breathing. There are people that are breatharians. They feed from whatever the oxygen, whatever the air feeds them. They survive on that. But I was getting into the fact that the breathing, the act of breathing, the breathing muscles. I recently recognized something about. I noticed the muscles in my core, the muscles in my back. They were lacking to some degree, and some of the function of when I was doing some breathing exercises, as well as swallowing and or when air comes back up, in a burp or a belch or whatever. I was noticing that those muscles, the strength of those muscles, are key to a lot of things in the middle, like the solar plexus itself right now. How you get these, and I think I talked about yesterday, sunny funny money. These yellow crystals are related to the solar plexus, are related to the sun, sunny funny money. So sunny, the color yellow, the solar plexus, which is also related to the sun. Sunny funny money. This is a merchant stone that also helps you budget your money, lifts your spirits. And I say all that to say this is the time that all this is stirred up. So when you are focusing on your breathing and or the functions that because the middle is also where you process your food. It's also like if you were to laugh, the area that aches when you laugh too much, or aches when you eat the wrong stuff. The feelings that you could have your solar plexus. Sometimes you get butterflies. Sometimes you get the gut feelings. Sometimes you lift you might get tickled, in your tummy, and lift your spirits that way through laughter. Laughter is another one of those breaths that helps you to lift your spirit. I feel like I'm running away like a runaway freight train. Any case, let me round this out. Let me come around the corner. Let me say that I relate back to the sweating and move right into the 5 words of supernatural wellness. So when I talked about that, if you're not sweating, if you're not hydrating properly, if your body is unable to ward off or use, if you're synchronistic, if your cycle, if your ecosystem is off, meaning, hydrate, cleanse, tune in and tune out, mind your matters, and flow. Those are the 5 words for supernatural wellness. So if you're not hydrating properly, then everything else is thrown off. Everything else is off kilter, off balance. Your ecosystem is not going to be able to balance properly. So once you hydrate, that's H3O3 or H3O2, whichever the chemical write-up is for hydration, which is what is that water? Structured water, which is the same that comes from fruit or coconut water even. But structured water is one of the best ways to hydrate, and it will assist us. Then your brain requires per capita more water than most of the areas of your body's hydraulic system. Isn't that interesting? The waters in your body is the biggest portion of it goes for the use of your brain, which sits in a water, a solution, structured water and whatever. I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to need to get over. And it looks like everybody's slowing down. And hey, you gonna let me over here? All right. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. Okay, so the 5 words of supernatural wellness. The last couple times I said I was going to, so I tried to talk about it the first time. I said I was going to talk about it the second time. Now the third time, which is actually the 4th episode. Hi, Art Happy Hour, Season 9, Precious MotherLove, welcome. So I wanted to talk about the 5 words of supernatural wellness, and I'm just going to leave on that note to say, hydrate properly. That's the way to kick it off. Once you hydrate, then you can cleanse. That's the way to detox. That's the way to balance things out. That's the way to clear the clutter. That's the way to remove all of the toxins and to get into the place where you can make room for the new stuff. The 3rd word of supernatural wellness is tune out and tune in. Of course, there's 2 parts to it. There's a yes and a no for everything. So when I say tune in, I'm saying tune to the inside, the inside voice, the inside part, the God spark. Tune into that, because now that you've cleared the clutter, now that you've hydrated, now that you're making way for the new stuff, now it's easier for you to get to the gems, the jewels, the treasures, the things that you are now pruning yourself from. That's what this time is about, the tune out and the tune in. So now when I say tune out, you're tuning out the outside. You're not as focused on the big picture as you are about the little picture. Now also, the micro and the macro, so when you are detoxing and tuning in, and now you're getting to the point where you can set it and forget it. That's also another way of me saying mind your matters. So if you don't mind it, it won't matter. And if you don't, that doesn't mean that it doesn't still take its toll. That means that you at least need to monitor what you're minding. So if you're minding, or if you're allowing things into your mind that are not what you want to focus on, That's one of those things that you now know. Put it on the pruning list. Put it on the list to, put it on the back burner. Put it up until later. But now, this time, when Mercury's in retrograde, now this time, when you have done your hydrating, your cleansing or detoxing, that's the second word, and now you're at the place of tuning out and tuning in. Now you're revisiting. Now you're revising. Now you're revitalizing those things that you had formerly put on the shelf. Now you're revisiting those things. Now you're in the place of revisualizing your new plan. You can pull it out and put some fire under it. You can now add it to the pot, or you can prune it out. You can now do a phoenix. You can now put it in the fire and let the energy revise and reinvent into the next place. That energy, that never dies. Energy never dies. It will just revise. So, now is the time to do that sort of thing. This is now be purposeful, be on purpose, be on mission, be on your vision, revise your view. And now let's move on. So that's the 5 words of supernatural wellness. The 5th word, the final word, is flow. Once you got your ecosystem, once you got your synchronizing of your synergies of your system, the science of self says, set it and forget it and go with the flow. So we start off with row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. All right, family, folks, friends, let's see what you got here. Who been talking to me? Who is this? Is I swear, sweet MP. I swear, sweet MP. How you doing, darling? Said hi there. And then there's Rosanina, Ronacia, 20, Rosa. I'm sorry. And then Erica Perez, Mo Equity, Mo 3MZ, ZQ, Mo. I'm messing it all up. I'm trying to read it while I'm driving. Give me some brownie points for that one. And thank you for the compliment about these curly locks, these Goldilocks. As a matter of fact, they what do you call that kind of blonde, sandy blonde? Okay. All right, my golden halo. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for hanging in there. Heart Happy Hour Season 9, Episode 4. I appreciate you guys. Looking forward to you liking, subscribing, and sharing. I finally hit that 500 number. Folks, help me get my likes and my subscribes up so that I can do more and share with more. Do more and have many surplus. Ashe, one love, peace, love, light. This is a song, this is the background track for a song that I did with my brother from the same mother. I already told ya, yeah, I got money for ya, yeah, you got to, oh yeah, yeah, Lonnie Beats, Nat Turner, Precious MotherLove, my love and wellness. Peace. Ashe. Oh.